I'm not saying we need to raise the building, but you want to make sure that, stabilize in a way that doesn't create problems in the future. We're all of a sudden start being back to the first floor.
You're live.
Okay, yeah, I can make sure that, so I'll hit them up tomorrow to make sure we get a realistic figure for the next one.
Hey, Dave, Michelle, and everyone, I think what we probably should do, since we're about 5 minutes away from getting the regular meeting started on time, I think we should probably pick a date for the next workshop, and then we'll pick back up. Maybe by then we can just have the info we talked about with the salaries, the benefits, and all the stuff that we're discussing now. Because expenses generally take a lot longer than the revenue.
Yeah.
So I'll throw out dates when we want to reconvene for the budget workshop. Today's the 17th. Keep in mind the 31st is a holiday. We want to do next Monday, the 24th. All right.
About Tuesday, 25th.
25th.
At 6:30?
6:30.
Work for me. All right, so we'll schedule the next one. Any other wrap up or questions or anything before we conclude tonight? All right, I want to close out the budget workshop, and then we'll recess for 5 minutes before we start the mayor council meeting. Put the date on that.
Oh, that's
25th.
6:30.
Yep.
Yes.
What's the money? What's that?
Yep. Yep.
Now, what you doing the other day? You need to have, grants, payroll.
But we gotta figure out what to do. I don't wanna go to jail.
Oh, yeah. I said my freedom. Hey, what was that line on the other half of that?
We had talked about it. Yeah, I know, I understand. Hello.
Good, how are you?
Well, she may have, I didn't. never utilized. I know I have a truck. We will do. Thank you. You did?
We have another channel person here. All right, you bet. Look forward to hearing from you.
I'd like to call the mayor and council meeting to order. Today is May 17th, 2021, time is 6:35. Please stand for the pledge. I Yes, sir.
If you just go for a second, this time I'd like to pay respects to Michelle Grant's father-in-law who passed away last Friday. So we can have a moment of silence for.
Yep.
Stand up.
Right back, please stand for moving silence.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Vice Chair Malinowski,
Here.
Councilmember Conjure, here, Councilmember Jackson,
Present.
Councilmember Barrett, here, Councilmember Saunders,
Here.
Finance Manager Grant, here, City Solicitor Redondo,
Here.
City Manager Baylor,
Here.
Chief of Police Kirk,
Here.
City Secretary White, is present.
All right, thank you. Also going to open the floor for 6:30 PM Board of Appeals for the annual FY22 tax assessment. Is there anybody here to appeal the FY22 tax assessment? All right, I'll leave that open until the time someone may come forward. So we're going to move on to action upon the minutes of the previous meeting. Any additions or corrections to the previous minutes? All right, motion to accept the minutes from the previous meetings or second?
Second.
All right, second by Dan. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. On to the police report.
So good evening, I'm Chief Curtin. First thing I'd like to do is introduce the newest member of our police department. Sitting to my left here is Lieutenant Michael Henderson. He just recently retired from the Newcastle County Police after 22 years. He just started with us 1 week ago today, and we are super proud to have him as part of the family, and I'll let him say a few words.
How you doing? As a Newcastle County resident, I've watched the development of this city from afar, and I'm just pleased and I'm excited to be here and be a part of the growth in the future.
And for the April 2021 Delaware City Police Report, there was some sitting in the back. Hopefully everyone had a chance to get some. So there's 5 crimes of note that I've included in there. Certainly, we have a lot of other incidents that we write reports for. A lot of them are not necessarily police matters, so I do not include them. So 1 simple assault, 1 vandalism, 1 weapons offense, 1 theft from building, and 1 theft of auto parts for the month. On page 2, that graph there that says day of week and time of day, that just depicts the 5 crimes that I've chosen. So there was 2 on Sunday, if we read left to right, 1 on Monday, 1 Tuesday, and 1 on Friday. And then if we go to the time of the day, they were spread out between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Just gives a little bit of intelligence so we can do some smart policing. Calls for service for the month of April 2021 were 39. You'll see below that April 2020 was the same amount, no change in the calls for service. In the right-hand column, year-to-date 2021, we have 218 calls for service. In 2020, we had 256. I'm happy to say we're down 15%. I'd like to think that's through some of our progressive efforts to help police the residents. On page 3, a couple of significant events. On April the 11th, we unfortunately had an assault at 5th and Hamilton, where an 18-year-old female actually stabbed another female who was a juvenile. This was not a random attack. I want to assure everybody it was a known assailant. We worked hard. It was a Sunday afternoon. I came in. Officer Gall was the handling officer. We came in. We identified the female. and she was arrested a couple days later, initially sent to prison, and eventually made bail, and she has a no contact order in place to help keep the family safe. So hopefully that arrest will stem future incidents, and we certainly know who she is if anything does occur. And the second incident of note was theft of catalytic converters. We've had a few of these issues from down the state of Delaware Surplus Center, a little fenced-in area there where they park their cars that are set to go to auction. So between April 22nd and April 27th, it's a wide time frame, so to speak. I believe 8 catalytic converters were taken from vehicles. So we have no suspect information at this time, but we're certainly working on that to help stem this crime trends. And if there's no questions, that's it for me.
Any questions from council?
I just want to say I really like your report.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, city manager.
City manager's report for May 2021. The Delaware City Community Center during the April Mayor and Council meeting, I previously mentioned, due to failing slates from the roof, the community center, at the community center, the inherent danger they posed, we would begin the first phase of installing a new roof. However, after feedback during that Mayor and Council meeting, I decided to appear before the Historic Preservation Commission to make sure that we're in compliance with the city code regarding the installation of the new roof. We are scheduled to appear before the HBC on the June agenda. And after that meeting, we hope to proceed forward with getting new bids for the roof and making that repair. Next item, meeting between city officials, Fort DuPont management, and state elected officials. A meeting involving Delaware city officials, Fort DuPont, and Senator Poore took place Tuesday, April 27th in the conference room in the Delaware City Community Center. In attendance were Mayor Johnson, Councilwoman Barrett, City Solicitor Ron Redunda, and myself for the city. In attendance for the Fort Corporation were Mr. Jeff Randall and Mr. Brian Short, Chair of the Board, and Mr. Maxwell, their legal counsel. Several items were discussed during that meeting, and it was decided that a memorandum of understanding, MOU, regarding future projects would be presented to both entities. And a draft of that MOU has been presented to council for their consideration and review. And council is to get that information back to me, and then I will get that to our solicitor. In turn, I believe the Fort Corp is doing the same thing, and it should be taken up for consideration in the June Mayor and Council meeting. Next item, Delaware City Library lease. Our solicitors continue to work through the proposed lease with the library's attorney. We have received a counter offer from the library, and we're working on responding to that. Harbor Street pump removal project. Last month, Mr. Stephen Lewandowski of Duffield Associates and I met with Mr. Robert Scottolagi, and I probably butchered his name, who's the Deputy Comptroller for the state of Delaware, regarding the continued use of state funds for the Harbor Street project, including the tide gate replacement and the canal outfall and the Harbor Street alternative. Mr. Scottolagi reviewed the project with us and approved the continued use of state funds for the project. So the next phase of this will be replacing the outfalls. And I believe I included in this attachment the agreement with Duffield Associates for the cost, which is about $20,000. That is my city manager report.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the city manager?
My question is, on the outfalls, will they be looking at all of the outfalls or just the ones that, that he showed us a few months ago that, you know, he said where he knew were fault?
He's currently looking, they're tying it in with the Harbor Street project. So they're looking at the outfalls that are right there where the Fort Delaware offices is, and it goes around toward the Burning Association and the fireboat. So they're looking at those outfalls to replace first, because those outfalls directly impact the flooding on Clinton Street, which also comes right out to the post office and leads down to Krabby Day.
Okay, I know that there's one outfall that is on, out towards the river between where the state park building is and, Clinton Street. You know, there, if you walk down the path by the canal, it's kind of where there's a change in direction occurs. There's an outfall down there that has a lot of sand in it.
Yes, and it's our goal to look at that. We wanted to address this first as a direct tie-in, but we may have some other funds that we could use for water and sewer that may be able to address that.
Okay.
We have also some flooding issues on Canal Street that we hope to be able to use some other funds to address those issues too.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, any other questions for the city manager? All right, thank you, Dave. City solicitor's report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is my report for this evening. The first item would be the library. I have had discussions and emails with the attorney for the library, Ted Rosenthal, and we have discussed the initial offer that was made by the city and the counter offer. At this point, my understanding is that the library representatives are going to explore some other funding opportunities. The city lease that was proposed is actually a substantially below market, but the lease rent amount isn't really rent the way we look at it because of the extensive repairs that are required for the building on an annual basis. So the amount of the proposed rent, $18,000 per year, doesn't cover a fraction of the expenses incurred to maintain the building. We did receive a counter offer that was very low. So we're working though, because it seems that this gap should be covered by other funding sources, and I'm hopeful that working with the library's attorney, perhaps we can get that resolved with either county or state funding. In regard to the MOU as mentioned by the city manager, that was a product of a meeting that we had that was referenced by the city manager. That has been distributed to all of you. If you wouldn't mind just taking a look at the MOU and sending your comments back to the city manager so that we can then get back to the board and let them know what our thoughts are about the MOU. The goal is to consider the MOU and the two ordinances that we've been reviewing at length. The buffer ordinance that also includes legislation regarding roads and the approval process. And then the second ordinance, the HPR zoning ordinance, to consider those ordinances and the MOU at the June meeting. So those will be up for discussion. So if you have any comments on the ordinances or the MOU, please feel free to pass those on to the city manager, and that way we can prepare for discussion at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the city solicitor? All right, thank you. All right, finance report.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to just thank you all for that moment of silence for my delivery, my father-in-law. It's very much appreciated. I'll be presenting the internal unaudited income and expense statement and check for the 10 months ending April 30th, 2021. The general fund currently has an operating surplus of $1,756,586.88. Our general fund revenues are currently trending over the budget at 165% of the fiscal year budget. Expenditures are trending currently at 77% of the budget within the 10 months of this fiscal year. Currently, our non-departmental revenues continue to trend over the fiscal year budget, mainly due to the water transfer, water fund sale, as well as overages and real estate transfer tax, overages and taxes, and the investment income that we have earned from the funds that were invested from the sale of the water. Our general administration revenues are currently at 128% of the fiscal year budget, with most revenue lines trending ahead of the budget. And our general administration expenses are currently trending at 64% of the fiscal year budget. For code enforcement, we're currently at 148% of the adopted budget, whereas expenditures are at 52% of the budget. Our public safety revenues at this point of the fiscal year, we are at 16% of the revenue. We have not done the transfer in from the general administration. I normally save that for the end of the fiscal year. And public safety expenditures are currently at 84% of our fiscal year 21 adopted budget. Community center, no change in revenue since last month's report. And our expenditures continue to trend over the fiscal year budget, mainly at this point of the year, just operating budgets. Normal operating expenses are main expenditure items that took us over the budget were in the beginning of the fiscal year. Public works expenditure are currently over the adopted budget by $4,118 for the operation expenditures due to the storm, which are currently over our budget. The request for assistance from FEMA has been approved. Right now it has been moved on to DEMA, which is my next step in the process. And I'm anticipating approval of that. Right now, we are pending approval in an amount of $5,620, which represents a 75% cost share of the expenses that we incurred. And also they do a management reimbursement for the time that we spent conducting meetings and et cetera, and pulling the information for them for the project. So we anticipate getting approximately almost $6,000 of these storm expenditures will be reimbursed by end of fiscal year. For sanitation, yard waste, stormwater, all are within our budget figures at this time with positive variances. Street maintenances for April, as you can see, there's an increase in maintenance expenses that was due to our Hamilton Street paving project that was done in the month of April. Drainage, no change since last month's report. Our park expenditures for the month, April expenses also included pole light repairs in Battery Park. Tree maintenance, no change since last month's report. Recycling, we're on track within the budget. And debt service, we're also on track within the current year's budget. For the water fund, we currently have a net income of $289,210. This is a $4,270 increase from last month's report due to an adjustment that was made as a result of the fiscal year 20. Our June legal fees were paid for the water fund were paid in July, so they were fiscal year 21 expense, but they have been approved. Once I went and looked at the audit report, they have been approved on the audit report, so I had to make an adjustment for that one line item. So that basically, it just increased the net income slightly for what was on previous month's report. And you'll see this decrease in the adjustment in the legal fee line. It went from 11,000 to 7,000. The remainder of the report consists of just special revenue items. And that basically includes my report of for the month of April 2021.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the report subject to audit? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, we'll open the floor for questions, discussion. All right, none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. All right, we're going to go into appointments. First item on the agenda is for the Board of Health. Reached out, did not receive any response back for the open seat on the Board of Health. So if anybody is interested or has an interest in serving on the Board of Health, get your resume in, please, and they'll be considered for the next meeting. For the Board Adjustment, we have a 3-year term that is open. I would like to reappoint Paul Peretz to the 3-year term. Leave the floor open for council.
I'll make a motion.
All right, motion by Betty to reappoint Paul Peretz to the 3-year seat.
Second.
Second by Bob. Any questions? All right, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Malinowski.
Aye.
Councilmember Tompkins. Aye. Councilmember Jackson.
Aye.
Councilmember Barrett. Aye. Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
All right. Paul has been reappointed. Thank you. Go into reports of commissions, committees, and organizations. Any organization wants to give a report? Yes, Cal?
Hi, everybody. I'm Tracy. Tracy Darty. I run the PAL Center over at the community center. I don't know anybody. Since the pandemic hit, we have been doing virtual school with the kids over there. So we've been opening up at 7:30 in the morning, bringing them in, giving them breakfast, helping them do their entire day of school, whether it's still in Zoom and assignments. We feed them lunch as well. So once their schooling is done around 3 o'clock, then they go home. And so we've been doing that since the pandemic started. So we're almost done school. So there's about 3 or 4 weeks left of school. So we're excited that we will be reopening the PAL Center. So on June 21st, we'll be reopening for kids to be able to come up and enjoy our services again. We will not be doing any indoor sports activities. We have a pretty action-packed summer plan to use some of the resources we have around here of using the trail and like the bike trail and sitting in the African American cemetery and just doing a bunch of things around town. So we take kids that are 8 and up. So we will be limited on the number of children as of for now that we'll be allowing in. We'll be open Monday through Friday from 1 to 5 p.m. and that is starting on June 21st. So if any, the kids are interested or if you want more information, please stop by, knock on the door. We're there from 8 to 3, Monday through Friday. And they will need new applications. Every child has to fill out an application or the parent does. So we are requiring new applications for every child coming in again. So, yeah, we're excited to get back open for the kids because they've really been missing it. So, any questions? Where is the town? The community center.
All right, any other questions for Pat?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Tracy. All right, any other committees, commissions, organizations? Yes, Tim?
May 3rd meeting of the planning commission, we returned a unanimous no recommendation on the 2 ordinances for controls. And we also returned a unanimous vote for approval of Battery Lane, Maple Boulevard.
All right, thank you. All right, any other committees, commissions, organizations? Final call, committees, commissions, organizations.
Nothing for HPC.
A report for HDC. All right, we're gonna move along. There's no items on the agenda this evening for old business. Representative Longhurst did ask to be put on the agenda, to read a memo from the House. She is not in attendance yet, I believe, so we'll defer to her later when she comes in. I'll skip that item for now. Item number 2 is the Rivertown Ride Festival. This is the annual permission by council to serve alcohol in the park, as we've done in the past with the designated area in place. So I open up the floor for council for motion.
Motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? All right. Motion is carried. Item number 3 is 70 Clinton Street by Whitaker Brothers, minor subdivision and requested variance. Anybody want to speak on this?
Mr. Whitaker is here in attendance tonight. I'd ask him to come up and just kind of give an overview of his project, but he is going through all the necessary steps and it's been approved.
Okay, so just for the record, has the variance has been approved through the Board of Adjustment?
Everything's been approved.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, floor is yours, Kevin.
Hi there, I'm Kevin Laker. I'm the owner of 70 Clinton Street. Spectacle now. No. I'm Kevin Laker. I'm the owner of 70 Clinton Street. So that property is one of the rare ones downtown that goes from Clinton Street to Washington Street all the way through. So it's a 40-foot wide lot. For most of the time, I've been using the rear access on Washington Street to access the back of the existing building that fronts on Clinton Street. So that's where the salt box is, and I have another store there, another office space right there. So this is a minor subdivision of that property to allow me to build a structure that will front on Washington Street. I'm interested in trying to develop some other pieces along Washington Street now and get some energy on that side of the street. So this is just a minor subdivision. I did it as a single family dwelling because that's allowed in the C1 district. I was trying to avoid over under apartments and creating more apartments like that. So this will be a subdivision on its own parcel of a single family dwelling. Sometime in the future will probably be once it's built. It'll be sold probably either to an individual. Again, I'm trying to encourage new investment and not so much an over under apartment that could be a rental property forever. So pretty simple. Met all the criteria, historic preservation, planning, Board of Adjustments, and it's conforming within the R1, the C1 district down that one. It'll maintain the C1 district, but it'll be a single family dwelling on its own parcel fronting on Washington Street. Be happy to take any questions.
Any questions from council? Okay. Okay. All right, move the floor for a motion.
I make a motion.
All right, motion and a second to approve the minor subdivision and the variance request.
I'll second it.
All right, any questions on the motion? All right, if none, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, motion's carried. The next one is a minor subdivision plan for Old Battery Lane on Maple Boulevard.
Mr. Mayor, there are some items that are yet to be resolved between the forecourt and the city. So I asked that that be tabled to the next meeting so that can be resolved.
Okay, all right. All right. I don't see Representative Longhurst.
She just texted me. She said that she will not be able to make it tonight. She's still kind of with the previous call.
Okay, so we put item 1 and 4 on next month's meeting. All right, we're going to member of council comments. Start with Councilwoman Barrett.
I'm a little bit concerned with the library. Evidently, it hasn't been open. And I was just wondering, and I know.
If I may jump in, Councilwoman, I emailed the library today, and I did hear from Ms. Monroe. They are providing services. but I'm not sure, to what extent, but they are providing services.
All right. I'm just really worried about the
I
library.
believe that they're open twice now a week. They were doing like you could order online and they,
Well, yeah, I know
and
that.
the people would pull up and they would put it into their car for them. But, recently people have been going in and the gentleman, I think the other day said that they are open 2 days a week for in person.
Yeah.
So like Tuesday and Thursday, I believe it was. It's either like Monday, Wednesday, you can do online and then Tuesday and Thursday or vice versa. You can go in or vice versa on the days, but I want to say they just recently opened for in person a couple days a week.
That's the only comment.
Yeah.
I was worried about the library. Because I was at my food drive program and, I had an older woman come up and evidently it was her 2 grandkids she had. And it was posted on Facebook and there were a website that they were open and they had a sign on the door that said closed. So that's why I was asking. That's all.
We will try to get, some more clarification and put on our website.
Councilwoman Conkis,
Nothing,
Councilman Saunders.
I've given every member of council some potential residential zoning changes that I would like to discuss at a future meeting. It's not on the agenda today, so there's nothing for discussion. But this is for discussion at a future meeting. This is kind of follow the concept that we had discussed earlier in the year, and people in the public had commented that they weren't getting enough forewarning about potential ordinance changes. And so the things that I'm asking council to consider are amending several parts of our zoning code that concern childcare facilities, schools and colleges, churches, parking, and multifamily dwellings. I'm providing the council members information on these items so that we can discuss them in a future meeting. The child care center issue to me is that primarily our description of child care centers does not mimic what the state has. And the state licenses child care centers. So I think there's ambiguity and confusion in terms of how, what the city requires and what can be built in different areas of the city. So I'm asking council to look at that so that we can try to bring our code up to be consistent with the state requirements. I'm also asking that orphanages be excluded from that part of our code because daycare centers, nurseries, et cetera, do not provide 24-hour care. Orphanages do. So to be combining them in one part of the code is not consistent. On parking, I'm asking, we all know that off-street parking is a problem basically anywhere in Delaware City. And so within the commercial district, the parking variances are essentially required for any new business. One opportunity for Delaware City to kind of look at this problem is with new construction, and this is primarily with new homes. So I'm going to be asking council to look at the minimum number of spaces required for different types of dwellings and see if that needs to be increased. For multifamily dwellings, currently, multifamily dwellings are only allowed in the R3 district, which basically encompasses the apartment buildings in Hamilton Place. Each building in Hamilton Place sits on about a 1 acre lot and has 4 units. In Delaware City, you have anywhere from 6 to 10 houses on an acre, depending on the style of house. In Harbor Estate, it's about 6 houses per acre. And this makes the housing density across all of Delaware City fairly consistent. I'm not opposed to apartments, but I do believe that with their potential size, high unit density, appearance, and complexity and other issues, they need special scrutiny. Due to the possibility that a future developer could decide to rebuild buildings that haven't been placed, I'm asking council to consider changing the multifamily code in the R3 district to match the special use permit standards and procedures as outlined in ordinance 21-0315-01. And this would make the standard uniform across all of Delaware City. For public and private schools, there are, to my knowledge, no public or private schools or public or private colleges in our residential area today. But given the potential size and nature of these, I'm asking council to also consider changing the code so that these would also need the special use permit standard and procedure if they were to be built. So these are something that would be allowed in the R1 residential district. Finally, churches. Well, there are many churches in the R1 district. Currently, our code only specifically allows churches in the commercial or the HPR district. Now, if a church building needed to be replaced right now in the R1 district, to me, the code is open for interpretation as to whether this would even be allowed. So I'm asking council to consider changing the R1 code to include churches by right as a by right use to make this less ambiguous. So those are the 5 items that I would like to have a discussion on in a future meeting.
All right, thank you. Councilman Jackson.
Nothing at this time.
Vice Mayor Malinowski.
Yeah, I attended the monthly fourth Zoom meeting. There's something else I want to mention. The Board of Adjustment is operating under an emergency order at this time, and that expires in June. So that needs to be addressed shortly.
Anything else? That's it. All right, just to remind council, the emergency order for the Board of Adjustment is the charter basically calls for 5 members. We haven't been able to fill that, so we made a motion to allow them to continue with 3. So that's either gonna have to be extended in June, or we're gonna have to find 2 people to fill these positions.
Could we not get back to 3?
Well, that's council's pleasure. We get back to 3. That's gonna have to involve a charter change. We can do that. Council's pleasure. It's just gonna take a little bit longer. We're probably gonna have to operate under my opinion, we're probably gonna have to continue the emergency ordinance to a time where the charter can be changed, but we can do that right away.
Does the charter call for 5?
I believe so.
Well, how come we've been operating on? Okay.
I believe it does call for 5. I believe we changed that the last go round. But just because we wanted to increase the board to 5 because of the building we were in 4D5.
Okay.
I was looking at that today. It does call for 5.
Right. So that's gonna involve charter changes. It's gonna take at least a few months. So we're gonna try to extend it at least next month to get us through. But whatever council decides is going.
I wanted a 5.
I mean, personally, I'd like to see it at 5. The challenge is to get people to step up and fill the board. I think as the city grows and we have more representation, I'd like to see 5 on there, but getting 2 more has been a challenge. They say we couldn't even fill the board at all tonight, and a lot of boards have vacancies. But if we can get people to step up, that's fine.
Is there a way that we can, I'll say, advertise these openings? Or how do we advertise them right now? Word of mouth, we put it on a website, or how do we do that?
We mostly do like we advertise everything else: newsletter, website, social media, word of mouth, and all those different ways. But open to any suggestions.
Okay.
Anything else, Tom?
Yeah, that's all.
All right, a couple items I had. Still working on with the state. I'm trying to get the municipal dock dredge. There's a lot of sediment down there still. They are interested in doing that. They're just trying to time it out where it doesn't interfere with any of the I guess the fish crab population down there and being sensitive to the environment. The other thing, Dave and I were working on the vegetation control along Canal Street, cutting back some of the pragmatis and spraying, so you have a clear sight down to the water line. Today, they did get the bench in correctly, Second and Canal. Put a new bench in along the promenade, the Second and Canal, and match the one at Third and Canal. It's made out of the recycled eco-pack plastic material. It also helps the environment out, so that is in place. I haven't actually been down to check it out yet, but that is done. This month we partnered with Newcastle County and tried a outdoor movie night at the community center. It's pretty successful. We're going to continue that through June, July, and August. I will get the schedules out and the movie selection. But that was pretty successful. We had the ice cream truck over there. Hope we get a couple more vendors. And we're also looking to partner with the county on doing some outdoor summer camps to more utilize that field over there to allow, the POW kids and some of our kids in town to participate in some summer activities. Also exploring a possible car show, flea market, farmers market in that field to try to get more activity in town, especially as we come out of this COVID, kind of way to showcase Delaware City a little bit and, get people out and doing different activities out in town. Speaking of such, tentative date we're going to try this year to do Delaware City Day. Tentative date is the second Saturday in September, which happens to be September 11th. So we have to work on putting the committee together and working out all the particulars. But of course, that's going to rely heavily on the COVID numbers. Hopefully, they keep trending down the way they are. And we can go from there. The last thing that I have is I asked the city manager to work with our city solicitor on, as council remembers, we're actually leasing Jefferson Street to PSC. It's like $300 a month. I've asked the city manager to work with PSC and the city solicitor in lieu of the $300 to see if we could work out some type of arrangement where the city could use the lot on Fifth Street to take some of the pressure off downtown parking on the weekends. When the bikers come in town, we have the lot right there where they can jump on the trailhead right there instead of tying up downtown and blocking parking for the post office and all the businesses down there. So hopefully we'll be ready to present that. Do you think we'll be ready by next month to present that to council?
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully that'll be presented to council next month for consideration. And that concludes my report. We'll go into citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments? Before we go to citizens' comments, let me remind everybody real quick. Last month, it was pretty emotional, and I know everybody's passionate about the different things they believe in, the Fort Yukon, the city, and all that other type of stuff. But I want to remind everybody to be respectful when you're up speaking. We're not going to tolerate any more disrespectful character assassinations against council or anybody in public. So if anybody does that, you want to lose your opportunity to speak. So having said that, I'll open the floor to citizens' comments. Yes, ma'am.
Gail Smith, I live on Jefferson, and if I use up my 3 minutes, can I borrow another 3? Because
All right, let's see how it goes.
All right. I noticed on Main Street.
It's very hard to hear.
Thank you. I noticed on Main Street, there's a lot between 2 buildings and there were tables and chairs in there. Is that for people to use if they bring food down to the park?
That is a paint night set up for the art gallery.
Oh.
So if you want to set up a paint night, you could paint outside with food or beverages, I'm sure, whether they provide it or not, I don't know. But it is a part of the art gallery's business.
Oh, okay. I did call the town hall the other day, and it said if you have the extension number, which I didn't have, you could put in the letters of the first
of the 3 first letters of the person you want to speak to. So I did that, and I just for your information, it came up that the chief of police answered, because I put in DAV for Dave. But it just has his name on there. He comes on and said he's chief of police Smith, and he gives you some things what to do. So I just think that it should be updated. And Mr. Baylor from last month, or about the cutting edge, still hasn't been.
I talked to, not that I need to respond, I'm going to do it this time. I talked to Cutting Edge even today about getting that pothole filled down there as well as that area. That's all I can do. I'm on it. I'll continue to be on it, but that's not the best I can give.
Do you need help with this?
I don't need help with this. I gave you the answer.
Okay.
That's the best I can do.
I just.
What's the next step? I mean,
Well, I'll
there's gonna be a
continue
next
to,
step.
I'll continue to be on. I mean,
Yeah, but you've been on it now for 2 months, 3 months. We've been talking about it 12 months.
I'll continue to be on.
Okay.
But there's no response. I mean, how can you've got to have a response to something. Who's managing the edge? You.
I'll continue to be on them.
So if Sean can't get to it, we'll look at other contracts.
Yeah, that's what I said that last meeting. We want to fire those guys. Or at least get another bid out there and do the job right.
Because they don't seem to take.
I mean, they're controlling you guys. So who's the boss? You're the boss. Sorry,
That's more than that. He's got manpower issues, but we'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. Anything else, man? All right, thank you. Any other citizens' comments?
Thank you.
Citizens' comments?
Linda Plain, 118 Clinton Street. I'd like to address the giant porta potty issue that we have. It seems like it travels around town, put in different places, and the last place it was put was right in bird's eye view of one of the nicest new businesses that we've had come to town, which is the old Sterling building. And they do weddings and parties and small time catering, and it's right off of their deck. I know if I were a bride having a wedding, wanting to use the deck, and all you can do is look at people going in and out of the porta potty, if it's close enough from here to say Paul is from me, I'd be really upset. So maybe we can find a more permanent position for that thing. It's not a bird's eye view of a restaurant or a little wedding facility or something like that, something more, I don't know, discreet, less offensive. So if anybody has any ideas on where that thing can be parked, that'd be great. That's all I have to say. I love having it, but it was good, but it was back over by the building to go over to the fort.
Yeah.
Well, they called me complaining about it.
Oh, they did, okay.
I mean, I can't win.
I know.
Put it down. I put it down in town because
Yeah.
somebody's urinating behind a bush.
Yeah.
And moved it to the fort, near the fort. They complained they wanted out of there. So I tried to put it at a location where people are walking along the path. I'll just move it out of the park. I'm just gonna move it out of the park.
Maybe you're back.
No, I'm just gonna move it out of the park.
Yeah.
Because anywhere you put it, somebody's gonna say, well, I don't like the look at it. So guess what? We'll just move it out. Okay? That's a real simple solution. We'll move it out of the park.
Isn't there a public bathroom?
That's
that's
maintained, under the maintained by the state.
That's been the issue.
By the state.
Yeah.
All right, any other citizens' comments? Final call, citizens' comments.
One in the back.
I'm sorry, somebody, okay, yes, ma'am.
Are there not any public restrooms in the town at all that aren't possibly closed off because of COVID that can be reopened? So
Just-
it's public access or?
just the businesses only. We don't have any public restrooms. The one down at the park are owned and operated by the state. We've tried to work with them, we tried to come up with a deal with them where we would take care of the cleanings and leave them open, but for whatever reason, the park manager there hasn't been very receptive to that. That would be the ideal solution, because they're permanent, we have water.
Is there any area in town that you could build a public restroom, even if it's just a one stall for female, one stall for male? Something that would be, that would go with the Jefferson area of the town and then maintain it that way?
Well, one of the thoughts that I have, we're able to take over this lot on Fifth Street where the trailhead starts, and this is long-term down the road. That could be one spot that possibly put permanent restrooms, but of course it boils down to money, funding, all that type of stuff. But to answer your question, as far as downtown, I don't see any property that the city owns where we can do that, unfortunately. Yes.
Well, what about in the parking lot? Just that on Washington Street.
Well, we try to put it, honestly, we try to put it somewhere where, people come down the promenade and they come to the park. So the big push is to have it somewhere in the park. Trust me, I get it. With Newcastle County, we've got hundreds of them out. Nobody wants them in their backyard. Nobody wants to look at them, smell them, and all that. I get it, but like Dave said, it's either we want them or we don't, unfortunately. And I think, honestly, from what I've seen, they've done an outstanding job on keeping them clean. Usually it's an issue with the county with cleanliness and tip them over, and I've seen the kids set them on fire. We haven't had any of that at all. And from what I know, I would have to defer to Dave. I don't think the burger place or anybody down there would actually complain about it, So that's the other thing we have to keep in mind, that I haven't heard any complaints about the current location, so.
That's by the pump station, that little pump station.
We could push it down further to where the fire boat is, try that, but, then you're probably gonna get, I don't wanna speak for
You got residents there that.
Mr. Whistleblower.
Complain right outside their front yard. And
Exactly.
let me ask you, would you want to rent across from your front door?
Probably not.
No, and that's that's the challenge you're gonna face. It really is.
What if we put it behind, like, some nice fencing or something?
That's always a possibility, but we'd have to first
That's the
be able to
garbage.
settle on a permanent location. That's the problem. So we'll just manage it the best we can. If we start getting a lot of complaints, we'll go from there. But like I said, unless Dave or the city staff knows anything different than I haven't heard any complaints from the burgers or anybody down there.
Yeah. The burgers aren't there anymore, so.
All right, citizens comments. Anybody else? Citizen comments? Yes.
Greg O'Donnell, Washington Street. The statement that Steve Michael was going to make to the board, unfortunately, he couldn't get out of work today. He emailed me and said he wasn't able to make it. And I emailed the council members. I don't think you were, I think you were holding your budget. I sent that out. So we'll have to make another arrangement, maybe in June. I can't speak for the board and I can't speak for him, but I want to let you know that he couldn't get me.
That's fine. Craig, I did see the email, but what I would ask you, if he wants to speak or the board wants to speak, get a hold of the city and ask for it to be put on the agenda as a separate item, because that's really not a citizen comment issue. That's more like a committee or commission report.
He was trying to make it in time for the commission report.
Okay, understood. Understood. Any other citizens comments? All right, final call, citizens comments. All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Any second? All those in favor? Thank you.
Board of Appeals. Board of Appeals.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, before we adjourn, is there anybody here that wishes to speak about the the assessment for the Board of Appeals before we close out as well? All right, I'll close that as well. Thank you.
Ask somebody to leave this here.
Well, see, their argument was they didn't really get the answer. Their argument was, we have our own attorney. We don't need it. So, no, I- we should.
Well, you could make it correct.
So I told him my airport.
Very well maintained, so that's a challenge.
Delaware.
Hey, Paul.
Okay, you did work. Okay, that's what I. Yeah, what kind of? Mail it, I sent you to say called several times.
Yes.
So, do you guys have any needs?
And I never.
We do. I'd have to look to see, like, the nurse exceeds our EMT requirements. I'd have to check with the state to see if that's acceptable for like riding ambulance, but I mean, we're always looking for help.
Okay, I just was thinking, I was driving by and I thought, I saw the sign for the COVID vaccinations and I thought, just ask and see.
Oh, absolutely. Or, if you have an interest, like tonight, or to help. Really
I actually do.
Okay, good.
I don't really know what I need to do as far as, I guess I have to help with it as far as like a resume. I don't really know if you just want a work resume or.
Just, work resume is fine. Just, I'm really looking for somebody to head that up and kind of get it going again, because it's been inactive for 5 or 6 years.
Okay,
So,
all right, well, that's good.
Between that or down here, absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, certainly, if there's ever anything, I'd be more than happy to help.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll look into the. Are you you're a RN?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll look and see, since RN exceeds the EMT requirement, if that's acceptable, like as far as qualifications. But yeah, if it does, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me come here. It's like crazy. Okay, well, see you. Okay.
Mayor, how you doing, sir? Okay, so I want to know, I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you. Drug calls real quick. So I've been doing double duty. They just hired someone now. I'm still doing double duty. I'm training a new girl. But with the new refinery manager, do you want to do it in person or you want to do it Zoom? So we hadn't figured it out.
The 21st, when you can stuff up, I'm okay.
Okay, perfect. So after the 21st,
Yeah, 21st, the governor's open everything up.
Yeah, I
so,
know, yeah.
If we want to get together after that.
Yeah, because I want to make sure I get you in there.
Yeah,
Okay,
cool,
thank you.
awesome.
Yeah.
he is not in March. I was in his office today. When he talked to me. He said, "Yes, I'll be ready."
All right.
Sure.
He knows
It's like a utility body, and it's really nice to train him. He used to drive on a white cutting edge, he got. But Steve does too. Steve does all of it. I think he's still state trooper. Okay. Don't get excited.
Yeah, the one again.
Hi, appreciate it. Oh, I meant to tell you too, because I've been trying to like text you and see, but it put me in conflict. Only right here. I seen it come through, but then there was nothing.
Let's get somebody.
It was so weird. So my husband's in the process because we have to get this fixed. We can't have one showing and one not. So we tried to put it on the phone. So he put it on the phone, but it's still not. But I just wanted to let you know, yeah, we didn't see it. We just didn't see the actual. Yeah, but then I looked, I said, but wait, let me put the other one. And the last one I looked at was right in front of the house, and it's like, it went so fast, I had to like slow it down. I was like, what was that? I like slowed it down. Well, my husband said, well, he thinks it's still recording here. It takes a few minutes for this all recorded, this recording, it takes, you know, it's like there's like a lapse in it. Yes, yep. So.
Awesome.
Thank
you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You did a fine job too.
Thank you.
Well, he's not actually about this. He's asking them to not do it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, take care.
So, you know, I understand his frustration. It's not free.
Anybody here driving an Altima?
Why'd you hit it? You didn't hit it, did you, Paul?
Thank you.
Altima?
No.
He said, well, I didn't hear anything, about this organization. I said, well, there should be a letter of credit, it's right on the website. I go, well, it's like, no letter. So I actually sent, I believe it to, so they all need to get loaded on there. And I told her, I said, go read the letter of credit. She said it's not on there. What, you guys not putting it on anymore? I'm like,
No, we're supposed to be putting it on.
yeah, so he mentioned to her, and I sent her a copy. I said, here's our letter of appropriateness, that it was approved. I said, so you can tell all your neighbors to calm down. Well, the crane guy, he's not approved. I know he's not. You should have seen the stuff he was doing. Well, he was actually from the crane. That's not your fault.
Well, one point, if you're looking at it, the one on the left is good. The one on the right, we're really concerned about. Yeah, and, so we went there last week because somebody called and said, hey, are they supposed to be going back? So we went over there and inspected it, and we just stopped. We told them they have to be the structural engineer. And they did.
The one question very important.
The one that's exposed, they did not get it, they did not get an engineer.
I thought they had one, and then we submitted when they got permits.
Structural engineer, The guy was a little shady with the walk. I didn't feel, I didn't have to go behind the guy. Yeah.
No, I thought for sure he had, because we told him he had to get a letter from the engineer stating that their center home was in such bad repair that it had to be demolished.
No, we did some file for the staff report and asked them to find it. We did here. It's, they had to, put up some boarding to make it stay quiet now temporarily until that engineer. Which one is that?
One closer to, is it Fifth Street? Closer to the line. Wasn't there another one?
Another like that, not like this. This one. I'm really concerned about that chimney up there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be two boxes.
I
think, I swear, I thought, and there was no letter. I'm thinking it's not. Am I thinking of another property?
I hope so, because if you're not, then they kind of fraud it. The permit system. But there's no engineers that are there.
I could sworn they had this right.
Go back, if you can check the notes.
Yeah, I will.
I think that's 250 Washington.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one. 215 is the center house.
So you know how to set this up now?
No.